hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. So you're the senior world designer on Diablo 3.
Yes.
Previous to this, you've worked on obviously the original Diablo 3.
Mm-hmm.
You had your own company before
Yes.
that, which made a fantastic game, Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines.
Yes.
Which it's one of my favourites.
Yeah, you were telling me about how good it was. Yes, it's one of those ones you hear about. I've never played it. I hope that doesn't offend you, but but it's one of those games that you just hear all the time how amazing it is.
It was. I think the only thing it had going against it was it came out at the same time as Half-Life 2.
The day afterwards,
yeah.
actually.
It's one of those things you kind of wish like there was someone that phoned up and just said, "Hang on, just wait a bit." But anyway. That's there. Anyway, it's fantastic game.
Thank you.
It's very enjoyable. Yeah, I like that.
Have you played much Reaper Souls?
I've played a lot of the beta, alpha, early access. I think the Crusader class is fantastic as a completely different play experience to what was existing already in Diablo. I think patch 2.0 falling just sounds amazing, that we're going to get that sooner rather than later as well in the core game. Just being able to pick up that sort of loot. The new loot system basically is just fantastic.
Yeah.
But for you and your kind of input on the game, is it more so around the story elements? Is it around the layout? What would you say is your kind of realm of influence?
We handle the story and the world building, so the backgrounds of characters, the cultures they come from, the stories. Sometimes they're put up on the web. Sometimes you just find them in the lore books around the world. So basically, any world lore or dialogue, or basically any kind of narrative at all. Like we do. For instance, all the way to the legendary items have flavor text on them that tells their history, that stuff.
That's all through you guys.
Yes.
How many people are in your team that handle that? Because it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we have. Was 5 of us. We had an editor who is on contract who did a really good job, but he's moved on now. So there's only 4 of us, but there was 5 of us for the project.
Well.
That's crazy.
It's not a lot of people for a
lot of
it's pretty crazy.
One thing that I'm sure doesn't have an answer, but have you considered why Deckard Cain had so many satchels? Really, because he seemed to just
and he just lost them everywhere. I don't understand.
You just slowly, as he got older,
conveniently dropping them near.
It's a little gamey, but we wanted a device for dropping stuff, and that was. We originally were doing stuff like bookcases, but it really became obvious that we needed to just be able to put stuff all over the place. So that was just a convenient fiction. Every time, the way our system works, if we were to name all those different things, they'd be different objects, and it just became it would become really horrendous to try to keep track of all that stuff.
Yeah.
This way we can kind of look up the one object and then see all the different places that got dropped and figure out if we need to move it. So a lot of it was logistically dictated, but it is a little funny.
I quite like it.
It doesn't. I mean, some of them aren't going to be satchels potentially, right? Because like there's that sort of like hot pink. In the beta, there's that hot pink placeholder satchel. But
it's probably going to end up being a satchel. But
Malibu satchel.
I like the fact. The satchel part of it was the humorous part. The fact that he wrote all that stuff, I think, is good. We really wanted him to be kind of like, because he's supposed to be the guy. In a real world setting, he'd have like 1 or 2 books with just all this stuff written in it. But we wanted to.
You can pick up the first book on Amazon now. I've got the Book of Cain actually; it's really good.
Yeah, no, that was really good. The Book of Tyrrell is. I like the Book of Tyrrell even better. I think it really. They're both really good, but I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the. The art. Don't get me wrong. The art in the Book of Cain is awesome as well. I just think that I don't know, for some reason the Book of Tyrrell just struck me as being a little bit better. But that's a personal opinion. I think they're both fantastic.
So with Reaper of Souls, it's an expansion for Diablo 3, but it almost feels like it's like a reboot for like the Diablo 3 game, because maybe Diablo 3, I'm not saying that it was disappointing. I mean, I think everybody was really looking forward to Diablo 3. I just, like me personally, I played the hell out of Diablo 2 forever. I just sunk countless hours into that game. Diablo 3, I sort of played through like the storyline, got through most of Nightmare, and just sort of stopped playing, sort of thing. And it was surprising for me.
Yeah, the auction house kind of changed how loot and the game functioned, because
that was
function in a world where that existed.
That was unfortunate, and I think the future without it is going to be much better because of that. It was, there was just many ways to try to solve the problem of unscrupulous people trying to sell items, or the duping of items and all that stuff. So we chose that one, and it turned out not to be the correct choice. But I think the way we're dealing with it now is much better. I liken it to Lord of Destruction. When people think back on Diablo 2, they think about Diablo 2 with Lord of Destruction.
Yeah.
If you think about Diablo 2 without Lord of Destruction, it had several issues that made it not as good of an experience as the Lord of Destruction version.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of the same thing with us, because, really, we set out to. We didn't want to just make Diablo 2 in 3D. We really wanted to kind of bring it up to date. And as I guess is the way in a lot of media, things that seem the simplest are actually the most difficult.
Yeah.
I had, when I used to make hardcore story-driven RPGs, I had so much dialogue that I had to work with, and books and everything in there, that I could be a little less disciplined, I guess you'd say, because I think a lot of that stuff was great and it adds a lot of flavor, but when you're really tightening down to just trying to get the essence of a story as quickly as possible, but still make it entertaining and still make it interesting, it's very difficult to figure out how to tell a story like that. It seems like it'd be much simpler, but it's actually a much more complex process. And I think that the same thing with like how we deliver the loot and just the gameplay in and of itself. They worked for a while up at Diablo North trying to get Diablo to feel good in 3D, and then it was moved down to Irvine. And some of the Diablo North guys, after, I think it took us like 8 months, maybe even a year, we're saying, finally we had something that felt like Diablo, and they'd already been working on it for I don't know how many years, a couple of years. And so it's not a simple thing, when you look at it, you're like, oh, all we just need to do is make a 3D game. And because simple things like the fact that it was fake perspective in 2D change actually how it feels, and change how things like distance is calculated, and just all that, and it all goes together into making the feel of the game, which is really important.
I think what's been brilliant though is that D3 hasn't ever seemed to sit still. It's always had big things added to it, with Paragon being added as time gone on, and then kind of the system itself. I always tell people that Diablo 3 is the best game it's ever been right now. Just the amount of kind of care that's gone into it post-launch, I think is fantastic. Obviously, Jay Wilson was leading the team before, has now moved on to other projects. Has the team changed at all in terms of the way you're approaching the game? Is there any kind of big shift in design, or is it still very much...
it's just a matter of time, and feedback. We got a lot of feedback, obviously, after the game went live, the original game went live. And then even after we, from the time we released the beta to now, it's undergone a lot of changes. It's just really a simple matter of not having the data before it's released, even when we had a beta. It was a much longer game. We didn't want to give out a lot of, or make available a lot of the secrets of the plot and how it progressed and the different stuff. So we only released a beta of the first act. Or was it only?
Yeah, it was up to Skeleton King.
Yeah, it wasn't even the whole first act. Because, there were certain things we wanted to keep secret. But with Reaper, we were able to release 90% of it, or 85% of it, and I think that helped us tremendously because people were able to give us feedback on pretty much the whole play experience.
Yeah.
And it really is just, it's an iteration thing, and thankfully at Blizzard we have time to iterate, and we care enough to continue to iterate it on a game and continue to try to make it better for our fans and the people who have bought it.
Yeah, and I guess like for you guys, like I don't know which came first, but the addition of things like transmogrification and being able to like enchant your reroll stats and stuff like that. That kind of stuff we're used to from playing tons of World of Warcraft, and those additions to World of Warcraft have made that game much better. Like they're just these incredible additions, and it's nice to see that kind of stuff in Diablo as well.
What I love about it is it's still very much a Diablo version of that rather than WoW.
Yeah.
In that it's got the random nature to it, and we had a bit where we were playing in the beta, and Simon, one of our guys, he got a legendary. I think he clicked on like a loose stone or something like that. He was just so excited that it just felt something so easy, and it was a really cool barbarian belt that had like a plus 9% chance shield block increase. And so he was like, "Oh, I don't want that," and it's like, "Oh, I can go and enchant it, change it." And we then ended up sharding another legendary to get the crystal, and then it gave us the two other options. So we had 9% block, and then it gave us the option to either change that for 9% block or 9% block. And I absolutely love that. Just the dice roll truly gave us that fantastic moment that you wouldn't get in World of Warcraft. You would just get you can add +5 to that. The item level's now this.
Absolutely,
It's part of that's part of the development process of a game like Diablo from Blizzard, is that not only taking good ideas but making them feel like Diablo. So that's just all in the process of like us iterating and figuring out how these things are going to work.
I think also the kind of the big feature for me with Reaper of Souls is the adventure mode and having those kind of random bounties. And as you said, with the previous beta letting us kill up to Skeleton King, it just means I never ever want to do Skeleton King again. I feel like I've killed him so many times.
But it seems different when you do it in adventure mode. You get the bounty to kill Skeleton King because you might, if you're lucky, find a game in Diablo 3 now in Nightmare or Hell mode or whatever, where somebody is feels like going to kill the Skeleton King, but it might not be the most efficient place to farm right now, especially if you're max level or whatever. But with adventure mode, it just means that content that you may not play all the time, you'll get to come back to and just re-enjoy it, sort of thing. And
I think it's really our systems designers did a fantastic job on that. It's really it not only it enables us to give you more content without doing a whole lot more content creation on our part. Which isn't about us not wanting to. It's just a simple matter of time and manpower. But it's a way for us to continue to give you guys new experiences.
Because this like adventure modes start to pave the way for like potentially like seasonal bosses and sort of random things that maybe you can just add in on the fly and
it opens up a lot of possibilities.
And Nephilim Rifts are just so much fun.
That
payout at the end of that.
You guys were saying in the presentation that you did earlier that Nephilim Rifts are going to be a reward for completing the 5 bounties, sort of thing. I mean, in the beta now.
I'm trying to. I've been playing our ship version. I don't know where it was left at in the beta. Right now, it's like you do X number of. I don't want to quote an exact number because I don't know if it's going to change or not. You do a certain number of bounties, and you get a certain number of Nephilim keys, and you have to have a certain number of keys to open a rift. So it's a progression. It's like you do the bounties and then you do the rift. Is that not how it works now in the beta?
In beta, well, it's gone through a couple of different changes because you had beta before the big character wipe and then beta as it is now, sort of thing. Before the character wipe, the Nephilim Rift keys dropped everywhere. I had hundreds. Sort of thing. So you could just. And it was quite fun actually because they take like 20 minutes to do, sort of thing, if you're with a friend and you're just blasting through them, and it's great. And then after the character wipe, they were a little bit more rare, and they would tend to like come out of caches or whatever from time to time. But we didn't have hundreds, you know. We maybe between me and my friend had like 5 or something, so we would use them more sparingly. But it just adds something to the game where if you're pressed for time, you don't have 5 hours to play Diablo sort of thing. You just want to jump in and take a chance and see if maybe you'll get a legendary in 20 minutes. It's perfect.
Yeah, it is, and you can play the bounties, and it feels it gives the Nephilim Rift. I think the problem before with just being able to go to a Nephilim Rift at any time, I mean, it's like, I mean, maybe 5-10 minutes per bounty, so you're looking at like, you know, a half an hour tops to be able to get to a Rift. You know, and then a Rift is maybe like 15-20 minutes. So it's really still not a huge expenditure of time. And the bounties themselves are like fun. It's not like you're feeling like you're being tortured to get to the Rift. It just makes it just adds a little bit to it. You know, if you can do it at all times, you know, as soon as I got that key, I would just go straight to the Rift. This kind of like maintains a kind of a feeling that it's a reward for something, which makes it feel all that much better.
Yeah, I like in Westmarch now too, where you know you're going through like the city, and you happen across these like little, almost like mini instances, you know, like somebody's house or like the cellar or whatever. And there's always something happening down there. You know, you go down and the grandma turns into like Satan or whatever, and you have to fight her and kill her, and then she'll drop something cool. And it's like, you know, you don't always get them, but you know when you see them now to go in and do them, because they only take 5 minutes, and they're normally worth doing. And I just thought that, I know that stuff's been in Diablo 3, like the, you know, like the hidden cellars and stuff like that, but in Westmarch they seem to click a lot more, you know, like you see them now and you're like, okay, great, let's go in, like nobody wastes time, exactly. Like everybody jumps in and does them.
I'm not quite sure why they're so much more rewarding now. I don't know, I think it's just a matter of kind of a bunch of different factors coming together, because they're really not created any differently than we did in Diablo 3.
It seems different. So
I know, it's one of those things where I think it's just accumulation of things. Because I've always liked them. I mean, those were kind of like little neat little things we could share, and I really like the like follower events that we have now and those type things.
The I was gonna say too. What was I gonna say? I'm tired now.
Are you tired already? All I can hear now is just hey Dwayne.
I had like
just in my head. That's what I love about the like there's so many kind of quotable bits though from Diablo that never existed really before. Yeah. And it's just like, you know, all the time around the office, like, you know, like foul magic bars the way, but the will of a Templar shot, you know, it's just like, you know, all the time, John Dar, just, you know, so we can be there for hours just saying John Dar at each other. Yeah. And it's just, I think that really what I think you guys have succeeded with D3 and with Reaper of Souls is just kind of just capturing just something that's really special and that it feels fun, even though it's like really morbid at times. You know, it's always fun to play and to explore and to.
Reaper of Souls feels a lot more like the height of Diablo 2 now, which for me, you know, like Diablo 3. It's funny because I'm in the Reaper of Souls beta and I've been playing it quite a bit, and then going back to my live Diablo 3 account, you're just like, I'm too used to it already. Like I can't go back. Like
I did when we first created the Crusader. He was his dialogue and stuff was a lot the same, and even there we did some changes, but nothing major. You know, obviously all of them go through some iteration, but you know, for the most part, once we go, this is final. It's pretty much been the same. But his play style has really evolved, and you know, when he first came online, I played him through the main story arc, and it was interesting because it was him, but it was just like, I don't want to play this again. You know, so I played him a lot in Reaper content. But I think that's another interesting thing. I think now that, well, the adventure mode gives new life to a lot of those areas and a lot of that stuff. But I think even now that, you know, maybe people, like once they play Reaper and have done adventure mode for a while, it might be interesting for them to go back to level a Crusader, because, you know, we have all the improvements that have been made since then are, you know, functional in the main game. So if you go back and play the original Diablo 3, it'll have the feel of more of like the gameplay now. So I think it'll be kind of like add new life to that part of it as well.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's really exciting.
Yeah, cool.
Bristol's been great.
Well, thank you very much, Leonard, for taking the time to talk to us. It's been really cool, and I guess we're just waiting now on you guys putting the game out. So.
Oh, great! I'm glad you guys are enjoying it.
Yeah,
not too much longer now, hopefully.
No,
we got. I don't know if
closer.
this is going to be like in the live, but Nephilim rifts that randomly give you like almost like a cow level. Like we've gotten that in the beta, where you jumped into a randomly generated like cellar or whatever, and it's just filled with cows.
I did.
And it was surprising, but fun as well.
Yeah, I think my biggest surprise in playing a Nephilim Rift was I was running through. Well, it's really cool how the weather and light changes.
Yeah.
Really help the if you go from the Halls of Agony to like Zoltan Cool's dungeon, it doesn't feel that jarring. It actually feels like it works. And I was running through. I don't remember what the first dungeon was, but I went down a level and I entered into the Halls of Agony, and I was fighting teddy bears and unicorns.
Yes.
And it was just, it blew me away, and they were really tough.
Those-
So it was like, I was just
exactly.
I was so busy laughing, I died.
Yeah, we got teddy bears too, and they were tough.
Yeah.
It's fun. That's great. I just love that, and it's so surprising when it happens because you're not expecting it.
And it just shows like the randomization is completely random too.
Yeah.
But we lucked out one time. We got a Nephilim Rift, which it didn't have another level to it. It was just completely flat. There was like almost like no environmental stuff, and it was those the slow shambling zombies that occasionally when you kill them they turn into the half zombies that crawl after you, but tons of them. So we went in there, and my friend was a really tanky crusader, and I was like this sort of battle mage spellcasting Fist of the Heavens crusader, and we gained I'm not even joking, it was 20 levels in about an hour.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it.